background on my work history, my experience before we get started, and then open things up. So been in brand marketing, been building brands for over 15 years now. I spent over a decade in sports. 8 of those years were with Adidas. I was the director of marketing for football, baseball, hockey, lacrosse, tennis, and volleyball. And I've written 3 books, 2 of them sports marketing related. One of them, most recently, more general marketing, but it is the curriculum, the written curriculum that we'll use in the course itself. And worked with some big names in sports and entertainment. I've been very, very lucky to do so. You know, the Kanye brands of the world, the Snoop Dogg's, the Aaron Rodgers, Von Miller, Messi, Candace Parker. The list kind of goes on and on. So I've been very lucky to have that great fortune. And today I own my own brand consultancy. So work with athletes, coaches, and teams, help them build their brands. But my mission right now, and the thing I'm most passionate about, I'm most focused on is, as EJ mentioned, I'm helping college athletes build their brands, specifically to set them up for life after sports. And that is 100% the mission. It's not about signing shoe deals. It's not about endorsements. It's not about cashing checks for me. It's about, we need to teach these kids how to build a plan for life after sports. We need to teach them what they need to know in order for them to have success when they take the jersey off for the last time. And it's all about the dream job for me. I want every single kid that takes this course to walk away with a plan that puts them on a path to their dream job. So with that, I'll open it up. You guys are welcome to ask questions.
Jeremy, appreciate that very much. If I could remind everyone, we are recording this session and I will send it out for your use afterwards. When you have a question, certainly be sure to identify yourself and your affiliation. And if we're not asking a question, of course, we'd like to put you on mute so that it doesn't interfere with the audio. With that, as is our time-honored tradition, Jerry DePaulo, the Tribune Review, why don't you kick us off, please?
Thanks, EJ. Jeremy, thanks for your time. You actually answered my question, or part of it anyway, with remarks. But I was interested. Pitt has a couple guys who are going to be first-round draft picks. A quarterback starting his 3rd year as a starter. What about the other guys on the team? The guys, down the line guys. What can you do for them, maybe now and in the future?
That's a great question. The course itself and my mission is focused entirely on the 98%. The 1%, the 2% that are going to make it to the NFL. I'm happy to help them, but my job for them and for the rest of the 98% that do not go on to play professional sports is to prepare them for life after the game. I am just as excited to work with the last player on the bench on the volleyball team, the rowing team, the football, baseball. It doesn't matter what sport. It doesn't matter how much talent the individual has. I want every single athlete to have the opportunity to learn the lessons necessary to set them up for success in life after sports. So this is as much, if not, as I said, more about the kids that are not going to go on to play pro sports as it is for the kids that are.
How do you put that into effect practically? Specifically, what kind of things can you do?
Well, the first thing that every one of these kids needs to work on is a plan. And I think the biggest issue that even the general student has is they graduate school, they graduate college, and they don't know what they want to do. Even though they have a degree, even though they've done their schoolwork for 4+ years, they don't necessarily know where they want to go in 10 years. And that's an issue. And it's especially an issue for a student athlete who's focused so much of their time for those 4 years on athletics. I've had several meetings with pro and college athletes where I'd ask, what do you want to do outside of sports? If you could do anything else besides play this game, what would it be? And I'm telling you, 3/4 of the time, the kids don't have answers. And that's the problem. That's what we need to figure out. We need to teach these kids to start thinking about those things, thinking about their future as soon as they step on campus, not 2 weeks before they graduate.
Thank you.
Jeremy, Mike Kovac with PittsburghSports.com. You're just starting with Pitt, but it's also a pretty unique environment right now in terms of everybody trying to go out and find jobs. What kind of challenges are student athletes facing, and how can you help them in today's odd job market?
So every student, whether they're an athlete or a general student, they're going to run into issues right now in terms of getting the job that they want. The market is just not going to be great, and that's the reality that they all have to face and they have to understand. What I'm going to do to help them is help them build a plan that differentiates them before they ever graduate. And that's how you build a brand. That's how you get a job, build that reputation. A brand is no different than a reputation. And it's important that these kids understand that, but when they leave, when they're sitting across the table from people like myself and yourselves, and we're thinking, what is it about this person that makes me think they should be the next hire? I want to already have that answer in the employer's head. When I graduate, I want them, before I ever walk in the room, thinking, this is it. This is our person. This is the young man or the young woman that we want to carry us forward as a company. In order to do that, you need to start thinking about pursuing that vocation and building equity in that vocation well before you graduate. And again, that's the issue right now. It's going to be much more difficult in these circumstances to get a job. If you're a freshman, sophomore, you need to start thinking about building equity, building that experience, building that resume, and most importantly, building that resume in the industry that you love outside of sports. The sooner the better, and that's what I'm here to help them do.
Follow up, in some ways, is this kind of maybe, in terms of Pitt, the best time to get started because of all the challenges out there? Let's get started with you.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that this is the best time for anything, really. I think we're under some pretty harsh conditions, but I would say what this is doing and what it will do is offer the opportunity for people to recognize that you don't have to stop learning just because you're not on campus. You don't have to stop learning just because you're not in an office. You don't have to stop growing because you're doing your work from home and you're remote. I think the opportunity to have an online course like this right now, the timing is right, absolutely, because these kids need to start thinking about their future, especially under the circumstances. But I think the circumstances that we're under are just pushing us more towards a digital world and just showing everybody that you can be growing and improving yourself and your brand 24/7.
Hey, Jeremy, Jeff Hathorn with 93.7 The Fan. I'm wondering, athletes come in with expectations, and to make it to this level, obviously they've had a lot of success. How do you manage the brand and their expectations? Because they may come in thinking, oh, I'm going to make this off my likeness, or if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, so here's my opinion on the name, image, and likeness situation. Just knowing my experience, knowing what I've seen in the industry, I was very much responsible for the decision-making process while I was the head of brand marketing at Adidas football and baseball when it comes to endorsements. Who are we going to sign? Who are we not going to sign? And I can tell you right now, from my own experience, my own opinions, I don't see the number of athletes earning life-changing endorsements going up. If anything, because of the situation we're in financially, across the board, all industries, I would imagine those endorsements are going to go down. So these kids need to understand, first and foremost, that just because you can earn money based on your likeness doesn't mean you will. And I think that's something that I can bring to the table. That's a conversation that I can have that maybe a coach may not be able to have. They might not listen to a coach as a student athlete because coach hasn't been there. But I've been there. I've seen those deals. I've seen those contracts. I've put athletes in the commercials. I've put athletes on print ads. I've put athletes on billboards. I know what it takes. I know what the budgets look like. I know the circumstances behind the scenes. And these kids need to realize, again, just because you can doesn't mean you will. So we need to build a parallel plan. I'm not going to rain on anybody's parade. If their goal is to make it to the NFL, if their goal is to sign an endorsement deal, get a shoe contract, I'm not going to rain on your parade. I'm going to encourage you. But at the same time, we need a parallel plan. We need a plan outside of that also sets you up to succeed after you walk off the field. And that is the goal.
Thanks.
Jeremy, I'm Craig Meyer with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I appreciate you taking the time out here. I was curious, when and how did this arrangement come to be, with Pitt? When did they reach out to you?
So Pat reached out a couple weeks back. His whole focus was trying to figure out how to help these kids and set them up for success under the circumstances. Obviously, it's going to be a tough market out there in terms of finding jobs post-graduation. And he was very much concerned with how do we keep these kids on the trajectory that we want them on. How do we make sure that they're set up for life after sports? So he reached out to me, and it took about 5 minutes for me to realize his mission was very much aligned with mine. It's all about helping these kids for the long haul. It's not about the next 3-4 years. It's about the next 30 and 40.
And you had talked a little bit earlier about how this obviously isn't explicitly connected with the name, image, and likeness topic. But since that passed, that was, I guess, late April, how much more of an interest have you gotten from schools about working with them and working with players' brands?
Well, I have a stipulation. The schools that I work with are schools that are, again, aligned with my mission. So I'm not interested in working with you if your sole focus is on just improving recruiting or helping these kids get connected with contracts and shoe deals. That's unrealistic. I can tell you from my own experience, that's not going to happen at the level that I think some people believe it will. And my mission is about life after sports. My mission is about setting these kids up for life, setting them up with their dream jobs, putting them on that path. So I'm not here to change the NIL. I'm not here to again, encourage programs to go out and fish for shoe contracts. That's not the point, and never will be. The point for me is when these kids take their uniform off for the last time, do they feel like they have a plan? Do they feel confident in their future? And do they know where they're going? That's what I want to teach them. That's entirely the mission.
Jeffrey, this is go ahead. Was on. Jeffrey, this is Stephen Thompson. I'm with the Pitt News. You mentioned earlier you want athletes, as soon as they step on campus, to start building equity, you said, building their resumes. How can an athlete who's already putting all of this time into their sport and into school build that resume?
So it starts with education first. And I totally understand the realities that these kids are under in terms of time crunch. Between academics, athletics, any semblance of a social life, they don't have any time. So I built the course with all of that in mind. Everything that I put together is easy to consume. It's short and snackable. Every lesson that I put together is less than 4 minutes long. So I don't care how busy you are. I don't care how many practices coach asks you to go through. Every single person can carve out 4 minutes a day, 4 minutes a week to learn and to grow. So as a freshman, sophomore, I don't care what level you are. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care what sport it is. I don't care, again, what your schedule looks like. You can carve out 4 minutes to learn and to grow. And that was my whole point with this course. Make it fit their schedule, make it fit their lives. I'm not just going to build a course for the sake of building a course and forcing it upon somebody. I'm not going to add another hour lecture to their day. It's just not feasible. In today's world, it's not the reality for an athlete. There's too much going on. So the work that I did, the work that we'll do together, it will be easy to fit within the parameters of what they have going on.
Thank you.
Hey, Jeremy, Alan Saunders from Pittsburgh Sports Now. I just, you obviously have partnerships with a number of schools. When they sort of, when they contact you, how do they sort of phrase, what are they looking for to get out of their investment specifically? Are they looking to use this, as a recruiting tool so that they can show potential recruits how they've invested in their athletes' future success? Is this something that they look at as, just a general part of their student athlete experience that goes in with other kind of life skills type things? How do they kind of categorize what you're doing when they sort of look at that expense?
Yeah, I've been lucky. Every school that I've partnered with, and we have several partnerships on the way as well to announce. Every one of those schools is very much aligned with my own mission. They're trying to help these kids set themselves up for success in life after sports. A lot of them have professional development programs already built in, and what I'm doing is just becoming an arm of that. But in every single case, the first part of the conversation in all instances is about how do we help these kids and set them up for success.
You talked about Pat Narduzzi being a sort of part of this, and obviously football and basketball are kind of the things that most people think of when they think of college sports in general. But those guys, when you talked about that sort of 1% and 2%, I mean, all of that 1% and 2% is in those sports. Do you approach athletes in sports like gymnastics and wrestling and volleyball and things like that any differently, or do you have different goals and advice for those athletes?
No, I think that's the issue, honestly, Alan. I think that we look at the 1%ers on campus differently than we do the rest of the student athletes, and we can't. They're all going to be walking into the same environment. The 98% that do not make it to the professional league, they're going to walk into those interviews just like everybody else, whether they played basketball or they were on the gymnastics team. So we can't treat them differently. We have to prepare them the same and teach them how to differentiate themselves and teach them how to build equity in something other than sports from the moment they step on campus. In fact, I would like them to start learning before they get on campus. I think that's the next step. If you're as a high school athlete, as a high school student, you're thinking about extracurriculars. Why not think about your resume beyond just getting into college? Why not think about the future, 22 and beyond? That's what we need to be thinking about overall. And I don't care. It's regardless of sport. It's regardless of skill set. It's regardless of conference. Every single student athlete deserves that.
Jeremy, it's Chris Peak from PantherLair.com. I'm curious, what drew you to athletics? I mean, you're talking a lot about preparing young people for life after college, moving into the professional world. What drew you specifically to athletics and student athletes? And do you have a larger vision that down the road this becomes a program that maybe is available to general student bodies at a university?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up a diehard sports fan. Played video games of. Everything was sports related in my life. So that going into college, I knew whatever it was that I was going to major in, I was going to put sports in front of that, and that was going to be my career. And then I fell in love with psychology, found brand marketing, and instantly, as a junior in college, I decided I'm going to be a sports marketer. I'm going to build brands in sports. And I looked at the industry. I found a niche. I found college sports was an opportunity. I was an intern at my university in the athletic department, and realized back then, that must have been 2002 at the time. No one was thinking about brand marketing. Nobody was building brands. There was no long-term planning in terms of perception and identity. And I wanted to change that. So I actually started writing my first book at 23 years old, the year after I graduated college. I didn't publish it until I was 31. I think it took me almost 10 years to finish it. But I've been thinking about this space for a good chunk of my life before I started.
Jeremy, for someone who works in the field, and this deals with players away from football and basketball and some of the high-profile sports. How does someone's brand help them or aid them, I guess, in the quote-unquote real world?
Well, I think the thing we have to realize is that a brand is no different than a reputation. People instantly hear brand and they think logos, they think print ads, they think advertising, they think commercials. That's not what it's about. Every single person in this world has a brand, because every single person in this world has a reputation. So it's our job as individuals to make people want what we have. Our brand is what we have. It's our product, right? And so for these kids, I want them to walk into that interview and already have the job. I don't want them to even have to say a word. I want the person across from them to have already done their research. They've already seen via social media, via networking, via whatever other avenue, writing books in my case. I want that interviewer to already want the individual, because they know they're passionate about the industry, they have the experience, and they've demonstrated the acumen. That's how you use brand marketing for every individual, general student or otherwise. It's a reputation. Build your reputation and you'll be set up for success.
Jeremy, it's Kelly Burkett from WPXI. I don't want you to give the course away, but is it a set of tools that they use, or do you set them up with mentors, or just give us a general description of what your courses are?
So the course is all online. It's all of the lessons that I've learned over the course of my career. And the point of the course is, as you go through it, you're building your marketing plan. So there's 3 phases to every marketing plan that I build. The first is the situation analysis. You're just analyzing yourself, the industry, and your competition, just trying to figure out where you fit and where you can carve out your own niche. Then second phase, building your strategy out. What is it that you can define as yours? And then the final piece is just bringing that to life. The final piece is the fun stuff. That's where the Twitter and the Instagram comes in. That's where the advertising comes in. That's where the networking and getting the word out comes in. But every student their own marketing plan. That's the deliverable at the end. That's what to me is so important. Is I wouldn't be where I am today without having built my own plan at 21 years old, and that's what I want to teach and give to the student athletes.
And will you be working with Pitt's life skills program in conjunction with them?
Yes, absolutely. And they're a huge part of this partnership. They were the ones that I connected with first on the student athlete development front, and they're very much concerned about the well-being of the athlete. So I'm going to work with them hand in hand throughout the process.
Do we have any additional questions for Jeremy? Okay, if not, hey, this has been tremendous. Jeremy, thank you for your time.